what do you think about this reduction? What are the factors that are affecting it? And does this really reflect the reality on the ground? You know, so we don't want to have another Professor Armstrong to come again in 5 years' time, and also give Malaysia, give you another bullet to review to review the as simple as PLI and other factors affecting poverty. So we need you to help us unpack this, Dato. And the second question is, as Malaysia aspired to become a high-income economy, in your opinion, Dato, how can Malaysia strengthen its current policy intervention in addressing poverty and inequality, whether it's policy reforms, political reforms, institutional reforms, and what will be the biggest challenge that you foresee? Dato, over to you. You have 10 minutes. Can I get someone to assist me in terms of timing, Secretary? Thanks so much.
Can I call my question here?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Moderator, Mr. Aslam, distinguished panelists, Dr. Rahman, co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to you all, and my apologies for not being able to be here on time because I got to tackle the KL traffic jam. But nevertheless, I managed to make it, and so I missed the keynote speech by the minister. To cut the story short, I will go straight into the two questions that you asked, the moderator, and the soundbite, the take-home message from the first panelist, Dr. Rahman, which the moderator has summarized. Whole of national approach, but localized solutions, and no one size fits all. I think that is a very important message for all. And with regard to my response to the figures that you mentioned, I think they are laudable, impressive, and being able to reduce the absolute poverty, the hardcore poverty, the MPI, and all those figures, the Gini and so on. And if we take, that was from 1989 to 2019, about 30 years, right? And if we take the perspective a bit longer, with a longer time frame, we take 1971 to 1990, the reduction in the poverty figures were also very impressive, from 49.3% in 1971 to 16.9% in around 1990, which is more than 30 percentage points. So why do I mention that experience of 1971, the MEP? Because I think when talking about poverty reduction, the war against poverty was the national agenda, the number one national agenda then, and we are still facing with poverty in various facets, various forms, and so on. So the figures look good. But your second question, or the second part of the first question is that do they reflect the reality on the ground? I think that is a very important question to address. Well, my view on this is that reality is multi-layered. It's not straightforward. And the figures, the national figures on poverty, whatever, PLI, MPI, and all that, captures the first layer of the reality of it. So, of course, I think the government agencies, the VP and others, they go into the deep dive, and I think we have got to do the deep dive. And by doing the deep dive, we can go into the other layers of poverty. And here I just want to highlight a few examples, which I think many people already know. The question of regional disparity is very big. Whilst in Kuala Lumpur they have a very low level of poverty, but in Sabah it is like 19.5% or something like that, which is 3 times more than the national figure. Sabah is no small population, 3.5 million, about 10% of the total population of Malaysia. And the inequality across districts in Sabah is tremendous. The geography of inequality, of poverty and inequality, and also the demography of poverty in Sabah. And then of course, we go to Sarawak, though the poverty rate is lower, but the geography is, we have got to look into the geography very seriously. Whole of nation approach, localized solutions. I think that's a very important message there. And then Kelantan, a country, a state rich in resources, just like Sabah oil resources, Sarawak oil resources, still very low, still very high in poverty rate. Terengganu, where I come from, very rich in oil, Petronas is there, still also very high poverty rate. And of course, we have got the paddy producing states like Kedah, which is also suffering from still having a very high level of poverty. So in other words, the poverty reduction is uneven. It affects, it reduces very effectively in some areas, especially in the western states where it was high degree of industrialization and all that. But in the regional states that I mentioned just now, we still have to do very hard work there. And then if we look into specific communities, we also see that phase of reality. For example, the Orang Asli, about 200,000 of them. They are the poorest and one of the most neglected communities in the country with regard to poverty.
Marginalized.
I think we have got to look into that very seriously. And what about the stateless persons in Sabah? The indigenous communities who still live deep in the interior. I think these are the faces of poverty that we really have got to look into. And then of course, we don't talk about the migrant workers. If we go into the migrant workers, then the picture expands further. So I won't go into that. So that I feel that we have got to take different layers of reality, and we have got to focus on deep dive, and we have got to know the geography of where the targets are. Of course, the urban poverty is serious, yes, but why the issue of the historical grievances of Sabah and Sarawak are coming out very seriously now. One of them is because of such deprivations that we have been talking about. Now, I want to focus on the next question. What policy interventions can be implemented? I feel that while I regard the NEP, the New Economic Policy 1971-1990, that is the first big push in the war against poverty. I think my suggestion now is that Malaysia should move into the big push number 2.0 to fight against poverty. We know where the poor people are, where the communities are, and that big push has got to be made. And I think that's point one. Point two is that we have to learn lessons from past experiences, namely from the NEP years, and also the recent experiences that Dato talked about, and most probably the minister has talked about, and also maybe some of the best practices from other countries that has fought the war against poverty. And then, having said all that, I think we have got to look specifically into the impacts of poverty among certain issues. For example, Malaysia enjoys a fairly high level of life expectancy, 74.5 years of age. Life expectancy average now, slightly higher than the World Bank global average, which is very good. But maybe we have got to unpack what is the impact of the poverty on the life expectancy of the poor communities. What is the life expectancy of the Orang Asli, for example? the life expectancy of the poor people in other areas, as Sabah, the indigenous communities in Sarawak, and so on. I don't, if you look, I think the there is data there, but I don't have access to them. But if we look into that more deeply, then we can see how serious the impact is on human development. The other thing that perhaps we need to look into is that poverty, that we've got to go by state, we've got to go by district, and even to the mukim, into the kampung. And then localized solutions there. The other dimension I think we have got to look into in this big push 2.0 is what happens to the children in poverty. The numbers are maybe millions, but we have a number of problems. Stunting is quite a big problem. It's on the rise. And then malnutrition, underweight children, made worse by the COVID-19. Children of school-going age did not have access to the supplementary food program for 2 years. That means good nutrition. So that affects the physical well-being and also intellectual well-being. And then, of course, the impact of COVID-19 on children's schooling. What about the learning loss? Have we assessed that? Maybe, but I will see the data. What about the lost generation, which is a serious problem? Those who drop out from school or who choose not to go back to school and who find schooling is a burden. I think some of you have read the controversy the last few days about one school teacher, Buckley, who has been called up by the disciplinary board from the Ministry of Education because he complains about
The syllabus.
the syllabus, mathematics syllabus for standard 1 being too difficult, too hard. So this issue has got to be looked into in this next phase. The impact of poverty on children, because the children are our future. So having looked into that, and I think special studies should be made on the indigenous community, especially the Orang Asli. We have been talking for too many decades already about the Orang Asli. Let's do something very serious about this. Now,
Dato, you there for 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So what is the biggest, what is my suggestion, institutional suggestion? I propose that a special vehicle, a special purpose vehicle, well, this term was used in the 1997-1998 crisis, special purpose vehicle to address poverty that we face. A dedicated agency, not just a minister in the Prime Minister's department, a dedicated agency that is devoted to fighting poverty between now and perhaps 2030 to address this. And what is the biggest challenge? I think the biggest challenge is governance is one thing. Governance, funding, leakages, and all that. And then how the government agencies, the building of partnerships. I think Dr. Rahman mentioned just now that the whole of nation approach and the agencies are not working in silos, which is very good. But I think the partnership with the civil society, with the community-based organizations, CBOs, with the community leaders, with the communities themselves, I think that partnership has got to be built more strongly. I think that's the biggest challenge, how to achieve that. How the governance has got to be very good. All leakages have got to be addressed, but at the same time, how to strengthen the goal number 17 in the SDG, strengthening partnerships with the local, with the CSOs, with the CBOs, with the local communities, because we want to provide localized solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.